Hey, good afternoon, Automotive Aftermarket. It's Carm Capriato, another Carmcast, and we call this version of this one Tom's Trends. Tom Ham, how are you, my friend? Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Oh, I know it's always good to be anywhere in our crazy
There you
world
go.
we are today. And Tom, one of the things that I want to do is one day I want to record all of our outtakes. The beginning of while we're sitting in the pre-room, and then after the show is over with, and we talk at the end.
Yeah, it might require some editing.
Yeah, we know that. But it would be so much fun because it's almost like that's where all the rubber meets the road. So glad to have you here. Tom's from Automotive Management Network and also AutoCentric in Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Good to have you here as always, my friend. And I have to pay a little homage to Tom because a couple of weeks ago we did our 100th episode of Aftermarket Weekly. And on that show, I paid homage to you just to let you know that it was you and I who started that 101 weeks ago.
Appreciate that
And
very much.
and we continued. Tom called me up one day and he says, "I'm sick. I got COVID. I'm out." And I said, "What am I going to do now?" So I carried the ball forward, Tom, and we're in our 101 week, I believe. Yeah, it was this week, 101 weeks. Well, look at Tom's Trends is all about, Tom in Automotive Management Network does all kinds of great surveys. I love the data that comes out of there and the unique questions that Tom asks. And so Tom's Trends is a show about what are you seeing, what are you hearing, because Tom has one of the best ears to the ground in the industry that anyone has at all. And because he is so connected. So Tom is going to bring some ideas about shop open hours. Shop open hours. I love it. So let's put up the first slide of the first question that you brought. And I love this question. What time does your shop normally open? I find it fascinating.
Well, yeah, it's kind of we try to come up with some unique questions, and they're questions that often you don't see anywhere else because maybe they seem a little obvious or a little simple, but they're not necessarily. And I think we're in an industry not unlike other industries, but automotive. My feelings has been somewhat known for it. If you go back over the years, people who work in this industry tended to work longer hours than many other people. Just in general, wherever you were, somewhere in the aftermarket, it was very common when you're going to be in automotive parts or service or something in automotive, and that meant okay, well, you're going to work 50, 60 hours a week. Everybody does, just
Anybody who started a business entrepreneurially, if you will, or had this passion to fix cars and or help people, they never looked at the clock. They just
sure.
worked until the time was done, and it almost carried over to, oh, I have a legitimate business. I guess
Well,
I'm open from 6 to 10 every day, right?
yeah, the employees were 50 to 60 hours, and then the owner was 70 to 80 hours. It's just kind of the depending on where you were exactly. But yeah, there's some long hours,
Yeah.
and as all the different things that have been modernizing and improving in our industry, one of them is the hours are changing, and I'm seeing them narrow up somewhat. People are opening maybe a little bit later if they used to open quite early. They've come up with that a little bit. Uh, they they close a little bit more on time.
Yeah.
And well, the open one you can, and then there's the closing one there too.
Oh,
And
wait a minute. Let's go back to the open one, Trace. And I
okay,
think this is fascinating that some open up at 6:30, but I wonder if that's to the public. I'd love to know that. If someone just didn't say, "Yeah, I'm there at 6:30 every
right.
day," and that's classified as open.
Yeah, at most, the fact the majority of shops, 56%, over half, don't open till 8 o'clock. And I think again, you go back in time a little bit. Everybody opened 7:30. That's just the way it was. And if a lot of shops were associated, or some of them were associated with gas stations, and they'd open even earlier, yeah, they'd open at 6:30. So
So let me ask you a question about convenience, Tom. What time does your shop open?
8 o'clock.
Yours opens at 8.
Yes.
Convenient enough for the early risers that want to get into work and get into work on time?
Well, I think what pops into one's mind is, why do you open at 7:30 or 7 or 6:30, or why do you open so early? They say, well, we got people coming to work and people dropping off their cars and so on and so forth. But we've gotten so advanced so quickly just in the past few years, the technology with drop off and pickup and digital interaction of ROs and everything else, that uh, you have a lot of customers that you hardly ever see them anymore, and it's just because everything is done online, and it just isn't as necessary to have that
Yep.
group of people, and it makes it easier too, without that group of people standing there in the morning, that group of people standing there at night, and just to uh, alleviate that somewhat, so the hours become less critical for customer service, at least in our industry. I mean,
Yeah.
in a retail it'd be different, but in our industry I think that has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I hear you. The flexibility and pliability of the consumer. If they want to come and get their car repaired at your shop, they're willing to work around your hours, and I think that's a great point. And I know the point. One of the big points you're going to make at the end, and let's put this in perspective, is that we have a group of great people that need to come to work for us, and we also have to respect their life and how we want them to work. Okay,
Yep.
and never has it been more important than now and today.
Yeah, bringing up the whole professional part of the industry, make it a little bit better, chipping here and there and just making things a little bit better in a lot of different ways.
Great. All right, we want to cover that at the end, a little bit heavier discussion. Let's talk about the closed hours, Tom. Here's the slide on that.
Yeah, and really, nearly half of these shops are closed by 5 o'clock, and I think more and more, and this is over the years. I know it changed at our shop. Uh, our shop is open until 5:30, although that may go to 5 o'clock here at some point. But right now it's 5:30, and at 5:31 you can shoot a cannon through there. You won't hit anybody. It is dark and the doors are locked, uh, and that is. Uh, Unless some weird emergency happened, which happens maybe once or twice a year, uh, everybody's gone at 5:31. It's set in stone, and so I think that's appreciated.
Are you using key drops?
Yeah, both key drop and key pickup. Everybody's had key drops for years. That's been fairly, I mean, that's been around forever. But the
Yep.
key pickup thing with the little compartment safe type things on the outside of the building is something relatively new. I guess it was kind of obvious, but that really hasn't gotten popular until just within the last 5 years,
Right.
where everybody has those all of a sudden. And boy, does that make it easy. I think ours has, I don't know, 6 different compartments in it. Uh, and you get them all different sizes, where you just, the payment is done online and people have a combination and they pick up their car at their convenience, which means,
Yeah.
it's done at Friday and they can pick it up Sunday morning if they want to. And it just, I think in a sense, it makes it more convenient for them than ever.
Tom, it seems to me, and confirm if I'm thinking in the right path here, that COVID really provided this big change for us to have the key pickup and the whole sanitization and this more than ever. You don't even have to come in order to transact business with us. Tech again, it goes to technology. It goes to this 6 feet apart thing. Now, no matter how our life, quote unquote, normal comes back, we have conditioned people to learn to do business with us in a brand new way. And that kind of makes me think about what a huge opportunity in the last year and a half to 2 years for changing your hours. And again, I go back to the changing the hours is now I'm not ready to lose my business at all. I'm willing to just make it so I can hire those professional people who want to have a life and work, an 8-hour day, 5 days a week. And to me, what a huge opportunity to take the professionalism of your business up a notch or three.
Sure. And the when you talk to people who have done it, they say, gosh, I used to be open 7 to 6 and now I went 8 to 5. So I cut 2 hours off the day, and say, well, what happened to your sales? It didn't change at all.
Right.
So, uh,
Yeah.
just more efficient in what's done, making better use of the time that's there, and just focusing on getting it done. But COVID, interesting thing to sit back and say, what are the positives of COVID? Because there's positive sides of almost everything, and forcing people, whether it be us or customers or whoever, into the technology has been maybe the biggest quote positive of COVID, because taking advantage of everything that's there for people.
Yeah, great, interesting stuff. You always bring great stuff. Now we have a third slide, and the third slide is okay. What else? I love this what else slide.
Yeah. Well, we got a little bit more than 1 in 4, which means a little bit less than 3 out of 4 shops do not have regular Saturday hours. Whereas I think that was definitely different years ago. It's interesting even today. This is one of the big advantages that independents have over the car dealer world is our hours. The car dealer, if anything, they've been expanding it. A friend of mine down here in Florida, he says, well, it isn't a question of whether we're open on Saturday. It's a question of whether we're open on Sunday, like the dealers. The dealers open 7 days a week now. Service departments are open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And it's just, just really bizarre. But the Saturday thing has really backed off. You only got 1 in 6, 1 in 7 shops that's open half day, and another 1 in 8, so open all day. And the evenings thing in there too, that started to look like it might be a trend a number of years ago here, but here we're sitting with 1 out of 20 shops is open in the evening sometimes. So that just doesn't really seem to provide much of a plus.
Tom, have you ever done a survey with this question? And I'm not going to perfectly paraphrase the question, but it would be like, if you did close on a Saturday, did you lose any business? Did you prepare and warn did you prepare your customer? What was the reception of your peoples? I mean, I would love to, because I think I know the answers to the majority of the questions, and I think they would all be in a positive way. And that's the kind of trend sets, if you will, that many people in the industry that are struggling to find great help, and they're sitting across from what could be a great, as they say, unicorn, a great, hire in the industry.
I think you're going to find kind of an obvious answer to that. Maybe not, but that might be a fun survey to do. I was talking to a shop owner the other day who I believe is, and I won't mention his name, but I think he's one of, I think he's Bill Haas's clients, or anyway, some kind of interaction with Bill Haas. He convinced him to close on Saturday, I believe. And this is a shop that had been open on Saturday for decades. I'm not sure how many decades, but a very, very long time, forever. And not a half day either, full blown day, 7 to 5 or whatever, full thing. And he said sales did not drop 1 penny.
This
no difference.
This is a residual of this episode, I think, Tom, is that we almost be able to subtitle this episode, so you're still open on Saturdays. And, and I'm not, golly, I'm not trying to tell anyone that they have to or they must do it, but if they've not visited this decision in a while, they need to think about what it means, not only to their marketplace guys and ladies, but to their people.
Sure. And it's going to depend somewhat what kind of shop you have. I mean, if you happen to have a quick lube, then it's a different ball game. If you have a tire store, it may well be a different ball game, just because of the people that do expect Saturday hours. But for the normal car service, most people seem to be pretty good with it. We don't really have, there's not an abundance of people. I can't even remember the last one who said, oh, well, we bring our car into you, but you're not open on Saturday. I mean, like, nobody ever says that.
Right. Hey, Buckaroo Bob, thank you for chiming in about the 4-day work week. Again, I've interviewed guys. We've got shows. Go to the website, type in 4 days, and you'll see the shop owners we've interviewed that will never go back to anything more than their 4. And they also agree, though, that if they opened the fifth day, that they would have more revenue, but their profitability, the team, it's almost like they can't interrupt their business model at the 4-day week. So, do you have surveys on the 4-day stuff?
That would be a good one to put out there. Now I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm making somewhat of an assumption that most cases you're talking about 4 10-hour days. I mean, people are
Yes,
saying, okay,
four
yeah, I
four
work
10-hour days.
7 to 5 or
Yeah.
8 to 6 or something like that. It's not the new West Coast model.
Wait a minute. Can we talk about that?
Sure, you want to talk about it now?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean, some
we
some
could.
of the folks aren't aware of it, and we can stick that in there anytime. But yeah, for folks who aren't aware, what's coming to the West Coast, and that this seems to be coming to reality, uh, they do some unique things out there, and that's the 32-hour work week for 4 days, 8 hours a day, and it would be mandated by law that you have to pay the employee for 40 hours, but they may only work 32. That's part of the legislation. And then if they work more, if they work 33 hours, you got to pay time and a half for anything over 32.
Yeah.
And there's more to it than that, but that's the gist of it. So
You know, I wonder. I'm wondering out loud to you. Do we need to do a show on this for, I'm a member of ASCCA. I know so many, of course, their president, Carolyn Cocolette. Uh, I would almost like, Carolyn, can you come on and explain this to us? The rest of the world, the other 48 states, as to what you guys are going to have to deal with out there. I find it fascinating. Of course, it's not just the automotive business. It's everywhere you look if you run a
sure.
business. And I was with someone from San Diego this week for a few days, and he did one of these scratch heads. I've got to go back and read it and understand it. And he said he says there's so much in the law, and you'd look at it and you'd scratch your head and wonder why. And
Well, there's
so
the West Coast. It's fun to watch. I mean, it makes you appreciate being on the other end of the country, I guess sometimes, but or at least not in the West Coast. See, it's a different topic, but still under the category of West Coast weird. They did actually completely sign and pass legislation in Washington that there's no internal combustion cars may be sold after 2030. They got 7.5 years left, and after that, all cars sold after 2030. There's a couple of exceptions in there, maybe for police vehicles or something, but have to be EVs. Period.
Well, I'm having such a tough time with that, because wherever I seem to go, Tom, the story goes, who's going to really be able to afford? And again, I think the industry is going to have their Pinto version of an EV.
Well, that's coming, but there again, is there a positive side to everything? Sure, because if you take, we've seen all the pictures of what Cuba looks like. I mean, they haven't been able to sell Chevys and Fords there since the mid to late 50s. They're still running, so we just figure the people on the West Coast will just keep their Chevy or BMW or whatever, just keep it for 50 years. Keep it
Start
going.
buying up fuel.
That'll keep us busy.
Start buying up fuel injectors.
Yeah, there you go.
You imagine, right, Tommy, can you imagine a locked concrete room inside of every shop with all the classic parts that are going to be, rise in value 50%?
Yeah,
Wait a minute, I'll trade you one fuel injector for this car
for
for
this choke
something.
pull off. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, yeah.
All right. Sorry to take you off track there.
No, I'm glad you did. It's always fun. Tom, whenever we get together, we end up having this kind of talk. Yeah, Bill, thank you very much. Unicorn mentality. And it's always great to see Nathan Adcock from Scotland on. Nathan, it's always does my heart so good that we'll be renting cars in the next 15 to 20 years. I mean, maybe that's the answer here. Maybe the answer is we're going to have, and again, there are places out there, Tom, where you can, go in and rent somebody's car like you would do an Airbnb.
Yeah, and since we're wandering off in the weeds on that one, I have a hard time with that one. This is America. Americans own their cars. When I was in school, and maybe you too, they had this push nationwide as we converted to the metric system. And as of today, there's only countries with English numbering systems have put people on the moon. There's no metric system. There's not, metric system. It all died. It's still there. It's I guess it's back in the closet there somewhere, and most of us know it a little bit. But
Yeah.
and I think the rental car thing, renting and leasing and sharing cars. Sure, you're going to get a certain amount of that, and maybe some urban areas, so on and so forth. A lot of don't even have cars now, but Americans own cars, several cars.
And they love their cars, and they're
Yes,
infatuated with their cars, and it's a car culture, and, it's a beautiful, shiny thing. I mean, I went to a lot of car shows this past summer, and it's you wanna see the legacy. I don't care if you were born back in the '50s or the '60s or something, it doesn't matter. When you look at the stuff that built our culture, forget about our economy, but built our culture.
oh yeah, we got a lot of that down here in Florida. If you're a 2-driver household in Florida, that means you have either 3 or 4 cars. I mean, it's just kind of the unwritten rule around here. We
Sure.
have lots of cars. They're everywhere, and they're fun, and
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, there's no doubt 40 years down the road, it's gonna be a different world, but to advocate the fact that you must, by this certain date, I think it's getting a little off the charts and a little more aggressive, but then that's just my opinion, and I could be wrong.
nah.
One of the things that Tom had told me about doing this show is that he knows that some of the most successful and profitable shops are just open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I am not, I'm talking about guys I've seen their tax returns. So not just war stories, but that's a model, and it's set up that way. Everything's set up to be efficient during the hours when the shop is actually open. That's when things really get done. Things aren't wasted, and these are often some of the most profitable shops. So. Hopefully the industry will keep going there. I think it's positive for everybody. I think you can overdo it a little bit with the 32-hour thing, but to trim the hours into a reasonable time period, I think is great for our industry.
Well, look, is there anything else that you want to add? Do we have a slide about aftermarket or Automotive Management Network? Oh, it's on the screen right there. Automotive Management
No, just
Network.
make the point. One of the biggest things you can, hiring nowadays. Well, your employees. I mean, poll them, ask them what they want. And when you're hiring people, I mean, you advertise. We're open 8 to 5. We're not open in the evening. We're not open on Sunday. We're not open on Saturday. We're not open on holidays. We're open just regular hours. And those are the kind of ads that the wives cut out and they or bookmark and they give to the husbands when they get home.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. But that's a big thing, I think, with employees. And another issue with it is the whole overtime thing is, I don't know, over the years, it seems to have gotten more difficult and more regulated, more confusing. And more shop owners just going to the let's stop at 40 hours, done with it. And let's not even go into the overtime world with all the pay and calculations and regulations and all the other stuff that comes with that as soon as you go over 40. So the 8 to 5 with an hour lunch and you got 40 and we're all done. And I think that's appreciated by a lot of people too.
Yeah, if the Department of Labor ever came in and they looked at your incentive pay and your regular pay, and they saw any kind of overtime and they saw an incentive or a bonus paid, and you didn't pay the incentive based on the overtime rate, and they put it through all their calculators, you'd come back and you'd get a fine. And I know that we've done a show on this, the Department of Labor audits, and it can get very dicey, as you say. once you start having a lot of overtime factors in there with any kind of incentive, especially as an hourly employee. Salaries are different.
Sure. And if you ask the Department of Labor, okay, can you give me your calculator and I'll do it according to that? No. We're not going to provide you with anything. It's a secret smoky thing we hold in the back room, and you're going to have to hire a consultant who's going to have to spend thousands of dollars wading through things to try to explain to you how it works. Which is, I mean, talk about government ridiculousness. It'd be one thing if they had a calculator that you could plug in and make sure you were okay, but there is no such thing, and that's just. I mean, people try to form their own, but that's ridiculous. They should just have one that you can plug into in their website and be done with it. That's my opinion.
And you could be right or wrong. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm having a blast today. Put up that last comment from Bill, and only because of course, Bill is deep thinker. Americans live to own, but DC is leased to the highest bidder. Isn't that the truth? And I may be sticking to that. I always have so much fun when I'm on with you, because we not only have a subject, but we seem to go off the rails occasionally.
Yeah, and when we do that, we're always drinking when you and I do the show too. I think that makes a difference too.
I'm not sure if I put bourbon in my black coffee today.
No, I can't remember either.
Oh my God, it's so great. Although we skipped March because I wasn't home most of March, we're doing Tom's Trends each and every month. And of course, we'll put this out as a podcast next week so that everyone can listen while they're in their commute mode. So thank you, everybody, for all the great comments.
If somebody says, gee, why don't they do a survey on, call me, email me, text me. What do you want? We'll create the survey. Give me a good subject and we'll make a survey for you and we'll put it on our website, which is being complete. We've been in complete overhaul mode for several months now. In the next few weeks, we'll be unveiling the new website because we're doing it from scratch to make it a lot easier to get around.
How exciting. Can't wait to see it. AutomotiveManagementNetwork.com. And how do they get a hold of you? I mean, if they get on the website, can they email you?
There's a contact form right on the website. We're one of these weird people. If you go on our website and you hit contact, you'll get our phone number, and you'll get, we don't hide. We'll tell you where we are.
Perfect. All right. Open connection.
Open connection.
That's great. And and thanks, Nathan, for reminding us the Easter weekend's coming up, and we hope that everyone has a great time with their families.
Happy Easter. Amen.
Yeah. Tom Ham, Tom's Trends. Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you. Fun.